Okay, what's going on, guys? Caleb here, and today we have got Oliver. Oliver, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Glad to hear. And well, you are here today, obviously, because you have closed your first fractional sales consulting deal. I believe we're not even 30 days, or we're probably hovering right around 30 days to be exact. I don't know if you can recall.
I think it's day 25.
Day 25. Yeah, perfect. Sharp on the ball with that. So yeah, well, for today, you've closed your first deal. And so well, let's talk about your experience with FSC and also maybe talk about your deal and I think really what's stuff to come. So I think the first question I've got is like, where were you at prior to FSC? I'd be curious to hear kind of about like your background, your experience for anyone who's curious. I know that you had a lot of experience with agency and things of that nature, but yeah, I'll spin it to you. Where were you at prior to FSC leading up to it?
Sure, yeah. So I've been in the agency space for a few years now, and last year closed the agency down and kind of have a few other things going on in the background, but wanted to keep my time occupied with sales. Then I found out about FSC, which I thought it was pretty interesting. Not exactly closing full time, but also being in that sales environment.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that was very appealing to me. So it kind of caught my eye a little bit.
Yeah, 1000%. And where would you say you were at right before joining FSC? Like, what was kind of like the thoughts or things that were going through your mind right before you decided to pull the trigger to join us?
Well, I had a couple people messaging me asking for support when it comes to sales, like almost sales consulting, but I didn't really know too much of the product to deliver.
Mhm.
Obviously, recruiting and training an SDR or a closer is pretty straightforward, but like end-to-end product delivery is something that was new to me. So I was kind of digging around and seeing what was there. Someone in my network was actually inside of FSC, so I was curious to learn more about it. So you and I spoke, and the rest is history.
Yeah, 1000%. I remember you were in the free community too. You put up a post in there like, who's in here doing stuff with FSC? And I remember I think I tagged a couple people and you were quick to like find times with them as well and set all that stuff up. And what would you say your expectations were coming into FSC? I mean, yeah, well, like what were you thinking? What were you hoping to get from it?
Good question. I didn't really know what expectations to have, to be honest. Um I haven't invested into like a program like this for a little while, so I was unsure as to what to expect, but what was delivered was amazing, to be fair. A lot of information in the content and the resources, a lot of depth. I've been in and around like coaching. I've been in and around coaching programs for quite some time. I haven't invested into them, but I've
Mhm.
seen the level of detail they go into in those programs, and I've seen the
Mhm.
level of detail that you guys go into this, and this is better than a lot of other things I've seen. Not necessarily in sales, but in the complete market when it comes to coaching. So tons of detail, and then of course just jumping on calls with you whenever is needed is also extremely beneficial as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I would say kind of you touched upon something there that's really common, which is, yeah, I think when you're a salesperson that's in kind of info coaching consulting, I think there's like somewhat of a bittersweet feeling that you guys have towards the products, right? Because it's like sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not there. You don't always entirely know. And so it's nice to kind of hear. I mean, you would say on average that you feel like at least for the investment, it was good. We held up to our promises and delivered on what was on what we promised.
Of course, we wouldn't be doing this video otherwise.
Yeah. And then tell us about your deal. I mean, so what was that process like? Obviously, I think, you were kind of starting from square one to an I think you had stuff in your network, but you were very focused on, okay, got to find clients, got to get a process together. So what was it like after you joined and kind of your leading up to the deal? What was kind of the work like? Was it a lot? Was it actually manageable part-time with the sales stuff you were doing? And then and everything that kind of led up to the first deal.
Yeah, so firstly, in the program, I like how it's very step by step. You don't want to focus on anything until you've got your first client. And that was very
Mhm.
much my thought process going into this as well. Don't overcomplicate it, just focus on getting a deal. So I tapped into the network quite heavily and then started having some conversations, met an agency owner, and now we're consulting, working together to build out his sales operation and be able to scale his business.
Yeah, certainly. And for whatever extent that you're comfortable, I don't know if you want to talk numbers. We have students that sometimes don't because they don't want to get pestered. But if you, I'd be curious to, for anyone who's curious, if you want to share about your deal, maybe the niche that it's in, kind of the work that you'll be doing too, and if you want to, the numbers and kind of what you make from that.
Sure. So the deal is, or the business is an agency. They work within the marketing industry, so it's a marketing agency.
Mhm.
Um, and it's very simple. Base plus commission. Going to be building out sales teams, training, and then managing the sales teams, and then everything else up until they become a customer. So if it's a
Mhm.
case of tweaking some ads, tweaking some funnels, everything in and in between until they become a customer, and then handing them over to the agency.
Yeah, and I think the best part too is that well, we won't talk about the name of the client, but they're in a niche that there's not a ton of competition in. You know, it's like you talk about agency, you've got everybody and their dog doing the usual agent, gyms, dojos, what contractors, things of that nature, right? And so you've kind of got like a pocket to yourself. And they've also got resources to allocate. I would also ask too, how manageable was this while being a full-time sales professional as well? Was it something that you could fit into your schedule? Was there a lot of conflict? And then how do you feel about kind of delivering for your client while you're also still kind of a sales professional as well outside of this?
Yeah, it's very manageable, to be honest. There's not tons of time that's required. Obviously, the more time you can put in, the more results you can get out. So making sure that I was able to put the hours in every day just to get outreach and tap into the network and have these certain conversations. But now I've got the first client, relaxing a little bit, making sure we can go through the process, get some good results, and then hitting it again. But it's very
Mhm.
manageable in between my hectic workflow at the moment.
Right. Yeah. And a ton of people who I think are watching this or always come to us are they are sales professionals, right? They're still out in the field doing things. And so finding ways that they can fit that into their schedule is really important. And what would you say was probably your biggest breakthrough or epiphany that you got from the program, if there was anything?
It's a good question. It's a very good question. I think not necessarily an epiphany, but detailing the different stages of a business and then the different problems that they face and the solutions for those problems within this line of work was very eye-opening. And it's
Mhm.
almost like a diagnosis in a way where you can just kind of assess from afar, okay, what stage are they at? All we need to know is the revenue, and then we can kind of gauge as to what problems they may be facing, and then
Mhm.
what solutions we may need to provide, which is very useful, you could say.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting kind of how you articulate that because yeah, the better you get at this, the more you realize that it's that, it's kind of like the business growth process isn't really rocket science when you're really good at it and you can kind of paint by the numbers. Oh, this is what they're doing in ads, this is what they're doing in leads, this is what they're doing in conversions. Cool. This is what we need to do for the next 3, 6, 12 months together to get to a place where we've doubled or quadrupled the business. So no, love it. And I guess what's next? What's over the horizon? I guess it was a sprint to getting the first client, right? But what do you see as next for you?
Just put the work in. Now the real work begins, I guess. The the easy stuff
Right.
is getting the client, and now it's actually doing the work and getting the results, having a great case study, and then going again and scaling up. This is a
1000%.
relatively small fish, so we're gonna go and get some
Mhm.
bigger fish, some whales.
Yeah. And I'd also say too that, sometimes the better deals are, you can sometimes get better deals out of these smaller guys, take them as far as you can and then hit a place where you renegotiate. Or also once more, it's like he's kind of in a pocket for, something that's untapped for what he can do. So finding better and more unique ways. And yeah, who knows what comes next? I'd say this is how it starts. It starts small, starts with the first one, then from there it kind of grows, builds, compounds on top of itself. But yeah, it's exciting. So 25 days from start to finish, getting the first client in. Well, I think it's 24 or 23, right? You got it a couple days ago. I remember you were messaging us in real time when you were collecting payments. So that was obviously fun. Um, what would you say for someone who is skeptical, someone who's watching this who might be on the fence and is like, I don't know if this is legit, these coaching programs, they're kind of you know, hit or miss. So what would you say for anyone who's a remote closer or skeptical on the fence, questioning whether they should maybe become a part of it?
Good question. I think if you're in sales and you want to scale, but you don't want to just take more calls every day, then this is like another option for you to make a ton of money and also build a bigger skill set than just closing deals because that's only going to get you so far. This is like natural progression. So if you want to get to the next step in your sales career, I think this is a very good option for it.
Yeah, 1000%. And I'd say those are all the things that we hit on or try to preach is, yeah, sales is kind of the first skill to master, but then there comes a point where you got to do more than that. And this is a perfect platform to learn all those things and grow with your clients. Or heck, maybe the day that you want to start your own business, you're a master of it because you've got that proof from 3, 4, 5, however many businesses you might work on with it. So But yeah, so yeah, you guys heard it here first. It's Oliver, 25 days or 24 days, start to finish, closing his first deal, bringing it in, and then on to bigger and better things. So if you guys are watching this and you're curious to learn more about fractional sales consulting, somewhere around this video, there should be a link to set up a time with myself. So go ahead and click it, and maybe we'll see you there. Yeah, Oliver, any kind of closing notes or things for anybody watching?
I think that's all for now.
Sweet. Well, yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.